Recording to this computer.
Recording in progress.
Oh, how come I didn't hear her? Because I'm not plugged into the right place. All right. Jim, would you give me a sound check for her, please?
Okay. Testing.
Oh, okay.
1, 2, 3.
I'm glad you did. I don't have sound. I got one switch to flick here, I think. External headphones on.
Oh, wait.
There it is. I got it. Now it's okay. I think. Say one more thing.
All right. One more thing.
There it is. Funny. I'm laughing at a memory. Boy Scouts a long time ago. I was a Queen Scout in Canada. The Governor General, the Queen's representative, gave me my Queen Scout badge. But somewhere in the silliness of it, funny, I remember this 140 years later, we had to repeat after the Scoutmaster a secret incantation, Owa Tagu Siam, and then say it faster and faster. Ah, dear. Grade 9 or grade 6 humor, I guess. So, I have a poem, and I want to sing the chants, the refuge chants together today. Oh, the poem, though. The poem will also be part of my Dharma talk. Many of you will recognize it. It's one of my favorites. The only thing that matters is love, isn't it true? Really. Everything else is just biding our time till we get back to loving each other. I am going to speak about anatta, not self, and the very practical ramifications of that in terms of belonging to each other, being each other. And it's said very clearly in this beautiful little short phrase by the great mystic of the 20th century, Albert Einstein. A human being is part of a whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and in space. They experience themselves, their thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest. A kind of optical delusion of consciousness. This delusion is a sort of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. As I read that last line, a couple of lines, I remembered that beautiful song, No Hard Feelings by the Avett Brothers. The chorus is at the end. Not a chorus at the end, but it repeats 4 times, I have no enemies. I have no enemies. I have no enemies. I have no enemies. And if for just a second, a millisecond, we remember our true great nature, how could I have enemies? It's an impossibility. A human being is part of a whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. They experience themselves, their thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. This delusion is a sort of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. Don't need these. I kind of forgot about singing the refuges together for a while, but I remembered again this morning. Uh-oh. Too many cables. There we go. Hope it'll work. Is there a guitar, Jim?
Yes, there is.
Thank you. Now, the refuges are not magical incantations. They could be if we want them to be, I suppose. They're reminders, though. I take refuge in being awake. So many things we take refuge in don't make any sense at all. Youth, power, safety, peace. But we can take refuge in being awake to exactly what's happening right now. I take refuge in the Dharma, in the way things actually are, in the beautiful teachings of the Buddha, in the truth of anicca, impermanence, in the truth of dukkha, the fact that there is great unsatisfactoriness, and the beautiful truth that this that I take to be myself is actually the entire universe posing as a human being. And I take refuge in the Sangha, the community. Take a moment to look around at these beautiful faces. This is our community on the journey. We've thrown in our lot with each other. Maybe we're on the same bus, same train, same Zoom meeting at least. And the taking refuge in Sangha also is in the remembrance that we are the living embodiment, the living presence of about 150 generations of humans since the time of the Buddha. And then, of course, the Sangha of all life, of which we are intimately connected, with which we are intimately being. So please join me if you wish. We'll stay muted because it really does get cacophonous. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. Here we are. A little tiny speck on a tiny blue planet, orbiting a small yellow sun, which itself is 100,000 years from light years from galactic center. In the Milky Way galaxy, which is one of hundreds of billions of galaxies. What could be smaller than that? And we're awake. How can that be? So please let us take the posture of training, the upright, relaxed posture. The posture, too, isn't magic. You don't have to sit cross-legged and rigidly upright to practice. Some people can, and it's very helpful. Actually, once one is rested and trained, you can lie down and meditate without falling asleep. But for now, here we sit, however you are. Come home to the fact of life in this body. This body that breathes. We are so deeply conditioned to hyperstimulation. And we train consciousness, we train this mind to be aware of things more and more subtle. Notice perhaps the life in your hands. The tingling, vibrating, warmth, coolness. But go beneath the words. There is the mystery here. There's sensations, and there's something that knows them. Notice the contact of your bottom, your buttocks with the chair, your thighs, the life in your feet. Notice the life in your face. This that for a while we have as a familiarity. The eyes and lips and cheeks. Each breath has a beginning. How remarkable. I remember 40 years ago hearing Joseph Goldstein say, "Rest back in the present moment. Don't lean forward and try to grab at the breath. It happens all by itself." Let each breath rise the same way the sun rises in the morning. The same way the robins reappear in the spring. It just happens. You may well be noticing that the mind wanders. This is natural too. It's not a mistake or a problem, something you're doing wrong. It's just the wandering mind. It's just weather. There's a powerful strategy taught in modern times by the Mahasi Sayadaw in Rangoon. It's called noting. You might notice that you're sitting here and note sitting. And then breathing in starts and the chest and abdomen expand. Rising, rising. And then when it's falling, we note falling. When the mind wanders and then awareness awakens to it, wandering. Returning. It's very skillful of us to know, really like the back of our hand, or our own face in the mirror, the 5 hindrances. So then, when the mind is restless and agitated, with absolutely no violence, we can notice, the weather here is restless and agitated. When the mind is sleepy and dull, experiencing sloth and torpor. That too is known for what it is, objectively. When the mind is colored by desire, wanting, craving, lusting after something, that too is embraced, known, relinquished. Or when the mind has aversion, disliking, resentment, rejection. Oh yes, this is aversion. And when there's doubt, from a small doubt to a massive one, uncertainty about the path, about oneself. It's doubt, calling a spade a spade. Doubt. And there is this mysterious breathing in and breathing out. Rising, rising, falling, falling. There is one attitude to practice which implies or depends upon a self that's going to improve itself. It's kind of a battle then. There's those pesky thoughts and hindrances. We can have a sense of struggle. When the mind goes quiet for a bit, it's like, oh, now I'm doing it well. Now I'm a good meditator. There's another strategy which is quite different. It's the view taught by the Buddha to act as if you were a consciousness, a person placed at the gate to a village or the gate to a city. Your purpose is not to control anything, but simply to note, oh, there's a flock of sheep going out, or there's a semi-trailer full of lettuce going in, or oh, there's a whole lot of thoughts about something going out. Here's this chronic ache in my back. It's this. And you may well use the breath as a kind of anchor, a home base. You may, in fact, even over time develop quite a lot of strong concentration on the breath. It's very helpful. But it's not the goal. The goal is presence in a non-coercive, non-violent, loving way with everything that happens. Everything that happens. again and again. The mystery and miracle of mindfulness awakens in the midst of a thought, in the midst of a worry, in the midst of an anxiety or an obsession, in the midst of a wave of compassion and love. This little tiny speck is awake to the entire universe. Whether we know it or not. And so we play our part. I am a meditator. I'm going to come home to the breath. I'm going to land here like a rock. I'm going to learn about the 5 hindrances and the 7 enlightenment factors. And all the while, what's really happening is the call of awakening is occurring. And so we can become more and more intimate with this breath, with these thoughts, with this mood. And let's practice for a bit with a different emphasis. Please make no effort to do anything. Soften the belly and relax. You finally have the perfect vacation you've always been waiting for. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to be anything. You don't have to improve yourself. You've already completely arrived. And in this infinitely vast space of awareness in which you try to create a self, notice that there's a body. It's breathing beautifully. It's balancing its salinity. It's doing tens of thousands of processes all the time, right now. There are sense doors. You can hear this voice. Notice how it comes and goes. The eyes are closed, but you can remember seeing. There may be some slight scent in the air. A residual taste. And what if instead of being someone looking out, You let yourself be a field of awareness in which all thoughts that arise think themselves. There could be the thought, oh, I don't get this, or I'm not doing it right. Just let that be inside you as well. There's no way to be wrong. Notice any of the discomforts that come with the body. Give up fighting them. Notice any dis-ease or sickness in the body. Give up fighting that too. Instead, perhaps embrace the aspiration, I aspire to love and accept everything exactly as it is, including this experience of myself. And any suffering, any pain, any discomfort at all, simply enter it with compassion. Compassion. And we can include things like the whole story of our lives. The birth, the childhood, the traumas, the losses, the blessings, the great successes, the betrayals on our parts or somebody else's, the tragedies, all the stories. Recognizing how they all lead to this moment of being awake. And this one now, and this one now. And maybe remember your family of origin, your birth, your adoptive family. All these characters that have played their roles in your dream of a life. They all orbit like planets around your life, some close, some far. But what are you? Are you really this that you've taken to be my body all these years? Are you not perhaps something infinitely more vast? Relax, soften. Nothing to do, nothing to get. It's okay if you fall asleep. It's okay if you go into trance. It doesn't matter. Simply open into the love and compassion, which is your true nature. Softening. Right now, there's nothing to do. It's such a relief to not have to do anything. To not have to improve any part of ourselves. We can actually rest. In parting, Ruth Denison used to say, "Darling, enjoy the beauty of your being." And let us hear a beautiful blessing of the moment by a bright spark among us, Mary Oliver. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness, I would almost say that they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself in which I have goodness and discernment, and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from their branches. And they call again. "It's simple," they say. "And you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine." Around me the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while, stay a while." The light flows from their branches. And they call again. "It's simple," they say. "And you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine." Resting in the beauty of your being. Any thoughts that arise, simply notice how they arise and they self-liberate. It's okay to rest. This little speck of a being carries within them the entire universe. Nothing to improve, nothing to change. And not losing, not abandoning this vast spaciousness. Let us now notice that in fact, there is a body. It even appears separate. Notice its feet and legs, pelvis, genitals, solar plexus and abdomen. Its fingers and hands and forearms and arms and elbows. Not a picture of this, but the actual experience of armpits and shoulders, chest, sacrum and back, torso, and neck and throat and jaw, cheeks, lips, cheeks again, eyes, forehead. May all beings everywhere, all beings, beings of all kinds, may all beings everywhere share in the merits of our practice. Please bringing awareness into the eyes and noticing the effort, the intention that it takes to open the eyes. And then letting them open, making the effort. Creates different conditions. Seeing happens. Ya Shakur. How exquisitely the One is manifesting to me in this moment as you. Ya Shakur. Thanks, Jamie, for posting that in the chat. Everyone in meeting, I want to post this. I think that's right. Some of you I know have already signed up. We're coming back to actually in-person retreats. I will be at Brighton Bush June 24th to 29th. Very impressive the way I just remembered that date. And there are 3 spots left. So sometime this week we will release it to the wilds at Brighton Bush, and they'll close, they'll fill in seconds, I guess, very quickly. So if you'd like to come and do a retreat in person with our community, it's all camping. There's car camping. There's camping in your own tent, I think, and there's camping on platforms that they provide the tents. So late June could be really cozy and delightful, and it could be kind of chilly. But the Dharma hall will be heated and so on. I want to see, Candle, are you here? I see your image. Will you speak to us?
I'm trying to find the right buttons.
I know.
Hi, Robert.
It's hello, Candle, my lovely friend and colleague.
Yes, indeed. Hello, everybody else. Nice to be with you today.
I was hoping you would speak about when and where you're teaching and the beauty of that undertaking.
Well, the beauty of the undertaking is easy to talk about because there is so much joy in offering the Dharma and just spending time deepening our practice together, which I completely love and support with anybody willing to sit twice a day since they're sitting this morning now. If anybody feels like continuing my first and third Sundays, tonight's the night. So sometimes it's a little hard. I've had people tell me they can't exactly find how to find the link, but on the Facebook page or on the website, it's under the Google Calendar. And then also you scroll down and you see the page that talks about other online offerings. So you have to open up that page, scroll to the bottom, find me, and then there's the web link there. So it's not always easy, but it's definitely worth it. And I really appreciate having folks from PIMC join, and there are other people that join as well. So I totally appreciate being part of PIMC, and I really appreciate you, Robert. And it's always great to see anybody else show up.
We belong to the Mutual Admiration Society.
My brother and me.
I forgot about the end of that. So the group is
called, I'm answering Julie's question. The group is called First and Third Sundays, and it's Vipassana and Metta. And it's at 6:30 to 8:30.
And while
it's pretty much the same. We don't have a particular theme, but I'm always coming up with something. So today I think I'm sort of combining seeing emptiness of self, but I'm combining it with wholesomeness of the practice, returning to wholeness for ourselves, especially in these sort of disjointed times. So
you know that in the morning and you're teaching in the evening? That's really remarkable.
I know. Well, I started working on it yesterday because I've started tango practice again. And there's a women's leading tango practice today, right? Like an hour. It ends an hour before teaching. So I have to get it
together. How cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here.
The queer affinity group, Be Queer Now, is anybody here who'd like to say a moment about that, speak about it? I don't see Kat or Birch, but anybody else want to?
I will say something about that. Hi, Robert Beatty.
Hello, hi, Shannon.
Jamie.
Oh, Jamie. Hi. Oh, both you and Shannon are unmuted. Hi, Jamie.
Take it away, Shannon.
No, you can both talk. What the hell? Jamie.
Okay, so it's tonight at 6:30. We are a sort of delightful amalgamation of human beasts that hang out and do the Dharma together and be together in a way that we are familiar with each other and see how our experiences of being in this world weave in and out of each other's lives and what we can bring to ourselves and each other and the world through our particular flavor of love.
Thank you.
That's all I
got. Shannon.
Yeah, I was going to say that I was able to go for the first time last week, and this tonight I'll be leading the discussion, but it's a get to know you kind of thing. So if anybody is queer and would like to attend, we'd love to have you.
And the link for that is on the website. Is it readily available on the website? Our website needs help.
I've heard it is. You have to put in a registration. There's a registration link. So you do that first, then you get an invite with the link to the group.
Shannon, would you in the next 15 or 20 minutes, would you do that and put the link in here in the chat?
Yeah.
And I will, while Jim is teaching, I will do the same with Kendall's gathering and put the link in the chat.
Okay. Cool.
I'm looking on the website now, and it used to have Be Queer Now right on the top page, but now I do not see it. So I think you have to go to online offerings, maybe. Yeah, it's not. Oh, there it is. There it is. It's on the front page, right beside the calendar.
All right. Anything, any other announcements, Jim?
No, not from me.
All right. So why don't you take it away into some movement,
All right.
and we'll
After all
continue
that.
after. Yeah.
How do we just be while we move? That's another question. I'm working on that. So let's stand and find out. I have this, my alter ego is up here. I have a different light on. It's like there's two of us. So, me and my shadow. That's funny. So, we stand, getting in touch with our balance. We can take a step forward and lean and rock back and lean and rock back, and the body knows how far to go and stay comfortable and come back, and then switch feet, step out and lean and rock back. Now when I rock back, what I try to do is line up my shoulder, my hip, and my ankle. So I'm just hanging out. I learned that in Chicago. No, never mind. Don't go there. All right. Or on the other leg, you can just hang out. Just let the shoulder, the hip, and the ankle, and it feels like this. That all the weight's on one leg, but there's a balance, and the other leg is just relaxing, just ready to go if it's needed, but just relaxing. So we can do this with a little qigong warm up where we turn the body and tap, and then sink into that upright pillar of strength, and tap on the other side. So I don't know if you can see my feet. Probably not. All right. You can at least see my hips. See, when I'm sitting on the stool on this side, the shoulder, the hip, and the ankle are lined up. And then when I'm sitting on the stool on this side, the shoulder, the hip, and the ankle are lined up. So reach across and tap, reach across and tap. So one leg has to do all the work, and then the other leg does all the work. One leg is relaxed and open, then the other side. And I do this first thing in the morning to wake up the whole nervous system, because in the back I'm hitting the lower spine. And then I come to stillness and just feel the life that I've deliberately inspired with tapping and working from one balanced leg to the other, changing, back and forth, repeating, and then pausing. No rhythm discernible in the hips or in the feet. The rhythm's in the breath. And And we can take our dominant hand and lift and fall the back down to rest. Take the other hand and lift, fall back down and rest. Lifting, lifting, falling, falling. Breathing in, lifting. Breathing out, falling. Now, this time I'm going to lift my hand on one side and lift my heel on the other. Notice how my weight shifts. The heel comes up, falling. The other hand goes up and the heel on the opposite side goes up. So we could give a label to this and say it's walking in place. But notice the changes in the arm, the changes in the feet, the shifting of the weight, a new rhythm, not just breathing in, breathing out, but the feet and the arms, the shoulders, the knees. When that heel is up, the other knee is engaged. And our attention, our focus of attention is like lightning. It can go from the bottoms of the feet to the knee, to the hip, to the shoulder, instantaneously. We think we're feeling all of it at once, but we can slow it down, and it's still possible to shift really quickly from one part of the body. The whole body's moving, and we can choose to be in a variety of points of attention. It feels like this in the hip. It feels like this in the shoulder. It feels like this in the hand. So we turn our attention to the experience. And then pausing and letting both arms rest. Knees soft so there's no tension in the joints. The muscles hold us up. Shoulders are soft, belly's soft, knees are soft. Then we can lift both arms, rising, rising, falling, falling. Breathing in. So it's a different flavor. When we did the opposites, it's a different Vedana, a different feeling in the body than having both sides of the body in harmony. One's not better than the other. It's just a different feeling. Rising, falling. But we can have opposite feelings. rising, falling. One moves away from the body, the arms move out, come to the center, and sink. So sinking together, opening opposite. Different flavors. We're still rising, falling. In breath, out breath. So many different feelings. Raise both hands up and paint a rainbow. It's a much more complicated move, but it's rhythmic. We can breathe in as we're lifting towards the center. Breathe out as we move away from the center with the hands. It's the same rhythm of breathing with a different flavor. The tonality of the feeling has changed. Tonality of the breathing has changed. Sustaining this paintbrush.
We had an apartment
overhead.
in the city.
And after
Me
observing
and
that,
Loretta liked living there.
noticing the change.
Well, it had been years since the kids had grown a life of their own
Back to walking in place.
and left us alone.
Different feelings.
John and Linda live in Omaha, and Eddie is somewhere on the
Pausing.
road.
Just be.
We lost Davy in the Korean War.
Sensations in the body.
Still don't know what for. Doesn't matter anymore.
Stretching asymmetrically.
Oh, you know the old trees just grow stronger, and those rivers grow wilder every day. Old people just get lonesome,
And
waiting
fall.
for someone to say
Letting go.
hello in there.
Receiving.
Hello.
Opening. Letting go. Openings. Different
Me and Loretta, we don't talk much more.
letting go. Letting go.
She sits and stares through the back room
Investigating
door,
some movement.
and all the news just
March,
repeats
online,
itself
and then hopefully
like some forgotten dream
invite you to
that we
Our
both
center on Duke
seen.
spend a half day.
Someday I'll go out and call up Rudy.
Probably
We
just
worked
some more
together in the factory. But what'll I say if he asks what's true? Nothing, what's with you? Nothing, what's with you?
Thanks, Jim. Woohoo!
That's a different flavor too.
Boom, 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 boom. Thank you, dear Jim. Trying to find my way back to that channel. That's not what I want. Where is it? Bum, 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 bum. There we go. Now put this back up. There we go. All right. View gallery. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. There. Get back into this. I have an ambitious idea. I don't know whether I can pull it off. But I do keep trying. I need the poem. Oh, good. Oh, I have more than that even. Let me grab it, Kendall. I looked it up while we were... All right. I'm going to put
Oh, good, because I tried to copy it from one Zoom meeting and paste it in there, and it was a link that was 5 miles long.
I know.
So you'll have to do it on your end.
I got it here. I got it right now. Here we go. I think I'm going to...
Thank you.
If I can find the meeting again and the chat. Whoops, I had the chat on and lost it. No, not to that.
Just copying my Zoom web link will work because
Here
there's
we
no
go.
password.
Paste this.
Thanks, everybody.
Ba-bum. There we have both. That's for the Be Queer Now group and Kendall's group. There we go. Did I send them? Not yet. There it is. All right. Ooh. Ha. Perhaps a little more adjusting here. You know, it was maybe 20 years ago. I attended a retreat with a giant of a human being, Achan Sumedo. He actually is a giant. He's about 6'3". And when you see him around ties, he's huge. But he's also a giant of heart and wise. I had a private interview with him. He didn't do, private interviews weren't part of the retreat particularly, but I asked him if I could see him. And we met, and I told him how I was teaching, including playing music and dancing, which is not Theravadan style. And after I'd said it all, and I was afraid he was going to come down on me and say, that's really bad, he said, that is absolutely wonderful, Robert. Westerners so need to learn to love themselves and to love life. And then we had some more conversation that I don't really remember. I was in a trance, actually. And however, I was so close to bursting out sobbing, but I seemed wrong. Now I probably couldn't do it. I'm so weepy all the time. But I left his presence and went outside. I was at a little retreat center called Cloud Mountain. I found a tree and leaned up against it and sobbed for about half an hour. It was as though this icon of the Theravadan Buddhist tradition had given me permission to be alive. I didn't have to throttle my life. I didn't have to keep shutting it down and become something pure or something different, that I could actually become me. It was a major turning point in my life and in my practice. I've always been grateful to him for that. But how I started going off with him is that he has this habit or this practice that I took on almost immediately, which is that when he's giving a Dharma talk, he goes quiet quite frequently. And he'll go quiet and just stay quiet for 5 minutes. And I took from him the permission to do that. And when I go quiet, it doesn't mean that I'm thinking. It means actually quite the opposite. It's that I am endeavoring or allowing for thinking to stop and to see what needs to be said that isn't particularly coming from Robert ego. So that may happen some today. Don't know. The poem, Einstein's poem. All right. Just listen to this with your heart. There's nothing to figure out in it. A human being is part of a whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. They experience themselves, their thoughts and feelings, as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. It's a beautiful line, an optical delusion of consciousness. This delusion is a sort of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. By widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. And the following is from a teaching I received this morning from Matt Flickstein, with whom I've been studying for almost a decade. This is a quote from someone called Anthony de Mello. Someone once said, the three most difficult things for a human being are not physical feats or intellectual achievements. They are, first, returning love for hate. Second, including the excluded. Third, admitting that you're wrong. Returning love for hate, including the excluded, admitting that you are wrong. And then Matt writes, in what ways have you returned love for hate? In what ways have you included the excluded? In what ways have you admitted that you were wrong? Why would doing these three things be the easiest thing in the world if you have realized selflessness? With the final realization of anatta, of selflessness, several understandings arise concurrently. Absolute reality is your true nature. Absolute reality has always expressed itself as your imagined life. Absolute reality eliminates the sense of vulnerability and the felt need to protect oneself from life. As a consequence of these realizations, love is always returned for hate. Nothing is excluded from our experience, and there is a knowing that all previously held points of view were inherently erroneous. And then some homework. It says, for the next 2 days and for the rest of your life, always return hatred, anger, irritation, impatience, and resistance with love. Please unconditionally include, accept, and totally embrace all unpleasant experiences that you encounter. And finally, without hesitation, admit you were wrong, no matter how inconsequential the situation may seem. What does that mean? How can we make sense of something like that? There's the great Christian adage, love thy neighbor as thyself. It's not a metaphor. Love them as if they were you. It's love them because they are you. There was a great conversation on Friday morning. If you weren't there, I highly recommend you go listen to it. It's on Facebook and YouTube, where we talked about compassion, and compassion for the aggressor, compassion for the downtrodden. It was a wonderful discussion of that. And we reflected back to the kind of explosion we had in the community a year or so ago around having compassion for the oppressor and not being diligent enough about articulating compassion for the oppressed. And I learned a bunch from that. And I sat for a long time this morning. And the intuition became really clear. And it's the intuition of what I want to try to share with you. I am trying to share with you. And I hope the technology will work, because I've tried to do something here. iPhone, share, yes, okay, come on, this, wakefulness, yes. Okay, getting close. Oh, there we are. Woo-hoo. All right, now look at this. And I want to do a little adjusting here so the people on Facebook can see it too. Oh, maybe I can't. Okay, I'm sorry, folks.
There's no picture, Robert.
No, there wouldn't be yet. There should. Well, hang on. I lost it. Ah! Okay. I'm going to quit this. Thank you, Jim. I think it's worth the wait. Oh, there's a nice picture. Where'd you go? It's frustrating a little bit. Not much, though, for me.
I think you have to stop sharing and start again.
I think I tried to do that, and I can't find the meeting anymore. I've lost the meeting completely. Hang on. Here we go, Robert's AM meeting. Well, that's funny. Oh, here we go. Stop sharing. There. Well, how did you like that presentation?
Wonderful.
I mean, that gets an A+, don't you think? Shoot. So I'm gonna try to keep it simple here. Let me see here. It's funny, this is such a simple idea I'm trying to get across. But all right, folks on Facebook and YouTube, I am sorry. You're just gonna have me. All right. Here we go to the. I'm gonna get this. Now, try this again. I can just talk about it if I fail, but it'd be nice to do it. Okay, share this. Bump. All right. Are you seeing a kind of blurry picture there?
Nope. It just says it's starting screen sharing, but it's not.
Okay, well let's see if it works here. Trying this. Did you get a picture now?
No, not yet.
Well, darn. Okay, I'm going to give up that. Stop mirroring. I'll just describe it. That's too bad. I'll have to rehearse that with someone else on Zoom. So. All right, I'll do it this way. That's a self-portrait. I'm looking good this morning, aren't I? And this that I'll speak about in a moment is another self-portrait. What is he talking about? This man has gone mad. Well, might be truth to that. Where did you come from? Where were you before you were born? Where will you go when you die? If you were sitting beside me and died, you'd be gone. But where did you go? Where did I come from and where do I go? Is there any more important question? I mean, and it is, the more I explore that question, the more awesome it becomes. Awful. It's an awful question. And we chase so many consolation prizes in a lifetime, trying to make something last, and they keep falling apart. I've been thinking a lot about those people in Ukraine. I watched a video of very elderly people crossing a damaged bridge. Their lives have been completely blown up. And of course, that could be here. Given what looks like a possible civil war here, it could be here. It's been here before. I could be them. I also watched a video of a helicopter crossing a lake, and a bright white streak came across the lake and hit it head on, and the thing went down in flames. A young Russian pilot vaporized. Just like that, poof. So I've been thinking a lot about that. And I've also been practicing a lot. And what I have in my little diagram here, it's a very simple diagram. It's kind of nice to see it, but we don't have to. There's an infinitely vast universe. Galaxies are flying apart from each other at half the speed of light. And there are billions of them. And here I sit. And I sure take my life seriously, don't you? And it is serious. It's important what I do and what you do. So I have a visualization. I'll put this together maybe on a slideshow that I can do on the computer rather than my iPad. But imagine for a moment that you're holding a baby. A naked newborn, still covered in vernix, little bloody, breathing, crying. 10 fingers, 10 toes, you can be relieved. That's nice. Great. Where did this baby come from? And this baby, like us, is going to go through somebody training and become somebody. They're going to become very much a somebody. In our culture in particular, they're going to make lots of decisions, and free will is going to be, so-called free will, is going to be very highly valued, and they're going to develop a strong ego in order to function in the world. And they're going to become they're going to become maybe quite frightened of death. And they're not going to talk about it much. In fact, it's a taboo subject in most circles. I heard another story the other day of a person who didn't know he was dying. At least they didn't tell him till the day before he died, or even shorter than that, as I recall. It happens all the time. What a strange thing. So we go through somebody training and we become a somebody, and then we disappear. I have a drawing here of a little circle. It's a very artistic drawing. A little circle, and then a big circle. And by the way we are constructed and the way we are conditioned, we learn to sing the song of the self, and we learn to sing it very well. And that is I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. This is my body. These are my thoughts. These are my family. These are my possessions. This is my country. This is, And that's how the world runs. Except for the mystics, the founders of all the great traditions, and the many mystics who never founded a tradition, but who simply lived the life of inclusion and love and compassion. I have a quote written out on my iPad. It's from the Dhammapada. Hatred is never appeased through hatred. Only through love is hatred healed. Hatred is never appeased through hatred. Only through love is hatred healed. Getting a little lost in ideas here, because what I'm talking about isn't an idea, it's an experience. The purpose of meditation is stress management. It's also psychological and emotional well-being and health, and it's also learning how to get along better with our partners and friends and so on. But where do all the spiritual traditions point? It's somehow about remembering at an experiential level that this body and identity is not fundamentally who we are. Now, the Theravadan Buddhists have a remarkable strategy for realizing this. There's the Eightfold Path. Develop a worldview that actually fits the world. Develop some intentions, like the intention to be kind and generous and loving. Clean up the moral and ethical behavior so we're not in uproar all the time. Train the mind and the heart. Train the mind and pay attention and study this thing that is the self that we work so hard to create. Learn about the four foundations of mindfulness and observe the body and the feelings, the liking and disliking, and then the mental states, and then all the phenomena that occur in the mind. In other words, become more and more attentive to the self, the experience of self, with one purpose in mind: to see that it's constantly changing. That there's nothing to hold on to. In what ways have you returned love for hate? In what ways have you included the excluded? In what ways have you admitted that you were wrong? And we can and must start with ourselves. What is there in yourself that you dislike, that you hate, that you think you have to get rid of? What have you done in the past that you criticize yourself for, that you think, oh, I'll never be forgiven for that? Or what about simply making room for all of it? That you're already as developed as you're going to be. But what if we can just love that? We're not going to meditate for enough years that we then someday become worthy of it and then we'll get to be enlightened. That's not how it works. It's learning to be right here, right now with ourselves and to love ourselves. In what ways have you included the excluded? How about letting yourself be who you are? I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. And in what ways have you admitted you were wrong? Boy, oh boy. So many opinions and attitudes and destructive thises and that's in a lifetime. And then, of course, we're in relationships and we can take this as practices, right? And I wanted to take this to kind of a very worldly level for a moment. If for a few moments we could experience ourselves in our vast true nature, we would see that everyone is us. I have some very reflexive things, like most of us do. I listened this morning to someone sent me the Ukrainian national anthem. I found myself weeping. If you ever get interested in it, listen to the world's national anthems, and they're almost all the same. It's very interesting. They're a certain kind of music. And I can think about these poor people in the Ukraine being massacred, and it's horrible. And then I think of the poor people of Russia being brainwashed and acting as they are and terrified of Putin, the psychopath. And this is the leap. How do we have room in our hearts for someone like a murderous psychopath? The only way is to recognize our oneness, that we're not separate. Doesn't mean one doesn't stop him. Doesn't mean one doesn't put one's life on the line. And this is a very strange part of these teachings, and it's part of every religious tradition, every spiritual tradition. I have no enemies. And it doesn't mean I don't think. I wonder if I were there in Ukraine and I were a Ukrainian, what would I do? I'd have both impulses, wouldn't I? I want to be the person who pulls the trigger on that missile and shoots down the helicopter or whatever. I also want to be caring for the wounded and injured, and I want to care for the wounded Russian soldier that I get to take care of. To see him as my son. These are vast teachings. They're asking the highest aspiration of us to remember our true nature. And it's not linear, and it is sort of rational if you can grok the big picture, but so these teachings, anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanence, unsatisfactory, not self, they are massive. They are monumental in their effect on what we're attempting to do. Wow. So that was my intuition. May all beings share in the merits of our practice. All of us, as we awaken from the ignorance of our separate, natural, separate identities. So what do you think, friends?
Robert, it's Joshua here.
Joshua, hello.
How are you?
I'm feeling a little exposed, actually.
Thank you for touching on a subject that's near and dear to my heart, and I always love your allusions to the cosmos, and the awesomeness of and the grandeur of the cosmic perspective, because I really appreciate that too, and it's part of how I generate awe and wonder in my world. And but when you're talking about non-self and the perspective of the mystics and unity or oneness, and for me, it's always like, well, then how do we get the world to share this perspective? It's an experience. It's not a teaching in that way. And the only analogy I have really is recovery. And it feels a lot like recovery to me when we use the word remembering our true self or remembering our true nature. It's like recovering that perspective. And so when I think about recovery and the fact that it requires bottoming out in a way, and it also requires the releasing of attitudes and behaviors that have been with us our entire lives, basically releasing everything that we were up until that point. I feel like my journey of meditation and on this path has been, yet another phase or cycle in that, right? And continually letting go and letting go and letting go. As I like to say, spiritual progress is not a construction project. It's really a waste management issue. Letting go of things and getting rid of all the things that don't serve us.
That's kind of funny.
So, what was my point here? I don't know. I think just questioning everything, letting go of everything we hold dear. It's kind of the old literary saw that you have to kill your darlings. I have to let go of the beliefs that I hold dear. I have to let go of just about everything that I think is holding me, what I think is me, together to get to the other side of this. And that's been really challenging. And I'm so blessed.
I guess.
I'm so blessed to have a relationship where I get to admit that I'm wrong a whole lot. So, it's great. And I get challenged in my perspectives and my beliefs, and I get to question those things on a regular basis. So I'm grateful for this community and for your teachings also. Thank you so much. And I don't know, I just felt compelled to share that today.
Thank you, Joshua. There is a kind of bottoming out. Encountering and recognizing and acknowledging the tedious burden of oneself. I this, I that, me, mine, mine, I, me, mine. Me against you, me against us against them. Hi, Roseanne.
Hi, Robert.
Hi there.
Hi. I was just sitting here washing my face and not feeling like I wanted to be on the camera, but I did want to reach out, and I just wanted to send my love. And I wanted to say that you're very held in your vulnerability. I just feel so much love, and I know it's all of us do, and what you're talking about, I know I've felt it. I know I've felt it. I know I've sat on mountaintops and melted into the rocks and the earth and become part of the trees. And I was just one with everything else. All our cells were merged. And so I totally get that cosmos picture, and I know that feeling. And yet, I mean, wow, what a struggle life is. How do we reconcile? I know that that's within me, and I'm one with everything. And at the same time, it is exhausting dealing with this day to day, how to be a human and survive in this human world. It's like trying to reconcile that bigger picture, the bigger universal picture, and being a part of that, and still dealing with death and loss, and how to survive just the day to day. It's so hard to reconcile those two spots. It's almost on or off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard to be in that space when everything's knocking on you. It's like 1,000 doors, people are knocking, and you need to do this, you need to do that. And it makes it very hard to sit and to be in that space.
Yeah. Thanks for checking in.
Yeah.
I'm seeing you sitting there, Susanna, and I forgot it. I have a little Pura Vida sign. I was going to put it up on the wall here today. Pure life, Costa Rica. Pure life. Well, I need to go and Just a few minutes. Anybody else have something you'd like to add?
Hi, Robert. This is Allison. Aloha.
Hello, Allison. Are you? Oh, look at that. There's a palm tree outside. Oh,
Yes,
my. You're in Maui, right?
I am. Yes,
Wow.
my husband. I think that there's there was so much this morning in your talk that really um, really became part of me again, and that's why I do this. That's why I tune in no matter where I am, because I need to continue to learn and relearn. Um, returning love for hate. Boy, I've had the same feelings I did with our last president in many ways of that. Um, Losing touch with love because I'm angry and because someone is being mean, you know, and misbehaving. And so I guess what I want to hear myself say out loud to you and other people is that I don't like myself when I'm hateful and um, and when love is missing, and bringing that back is so important for me on a daily basis if I'm watching the news, because I I see things that are very difficult, and I know that I can stop myself, and I know that I can, even including the excluded, all of those things that you mentioned that I want to think about over and over today, so that I can be stronger. And thank you so much for your vulnerability, for talking about anatta. That's hard for me sometimes. And so then I start making up my own definition of anatta. And so it's important to revisit that and what is that? And admitting that I'm wrong. And my sister died in October, and we hadn't spoken for over 4 years because of her anger and her hatred. And I tried to reach out, and I couldn't. And it feels so good to be released of anger and have compassion instead, as she was
Mm.
dying, and would not let me come and see her. Um, I had no control over that, but I do have control over my own, how I'm handling my own love and my own feelings inside, and whether or not I choose to be angry and hateful. So it feels really good to just say that and hold that with the rest of my day here in this beautiful place in Hawaii, and be at one with the fish that I see with my mask underwater is another one of those, kind of like a mountaintop experience, except it's underwater. I love it.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to be stunningly virtuous. I'm going to the gym. Imagine that. It's bizarre, but I'm going to do it. Damn it. So let us sing our way out of here. Ready? May all beings receive all blessings. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Goodbye, dear friends. Have a mindful, loving, and compassionate life.
Bye.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Bye.
Thank you, Maggie. Bye, everybody.
Namaste, Robert.
Bye bye, Robert. Good luck at the gym. You can do it.
You can do it.
Jim is good. Jim is
Thanks,
good.
Jim. Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, Tim.
Goodbye, friends on Facebook and YouTube.